how-to presentation about leadership. There's my guy there. Okay, moving on to the first slide. These are some of the characteristics that others have said make a quality leader. Integrity, cooperation, humility, vision, focus, courage, strategic planning. Those are listed by a guy named Brian Tracy. And of those, if I were to pick three that I think I possess, embody the most, I think mine would be integrity, humility, and cooperation. When I think of really good leaders, in my opinion, I also see vision and strategic planning, and those are two things that I wish I was better at. Two things that I really need to work on, especially if I want to continue pursuing building administration. And definitely things that we can get better at if we work at them. I think in most cases we all kind of have a little bit of these, but the three that I listed I think are my strongest. Although it's strange to say humility is my strongest, because is that being humble? But honestly, and with an honest opinion, I think I show humility in most things that I do. Moving on. Then we talk about the leadership styles that we all possess. Watching a YouTube video talking about 10 leadership styles. These are the three that I think I identified with the most. One being the servant style of leadership. And I think I do often take on that role of servant, like working alongside people. So particularly students and colleagues. And my hope, I guess, is that they see me doing, maybe they also will do, and it's, we work better as a team in general, as a people. It's much easier to do things together than it is by yourself, for the most part. There are exceptions. Another style would be the style theory of leadership. I like how they put it in there. One of, they had authoritarian, they had, I think, a diplomat, and one that I seem to possess is like the laissez-faire leader. And, to an extent, I do like to let my students operate on their own, in their own space. We have high expectations for them, but I work in an EBD program, and I'm not there to crack a whip. Like these students have been through all sorts of education and had all sorts of punishments and consequences. So I don't think in some cases they need more, cracking down. They need to have expectations, but be able to figure out how to operate in those on their own. So that's what we kind of try to do. And the last one being transformational leadership. That's kind of similar as the first one of trying to change them, letting them know we care, letting them know that we're there for them, truly changing their behavior and their attitude in order to accomplish their goals. And then we add all three of those up, and I took that style assessment quiz, and it turned out for me that I was a diplomat, and I really think that's spot on. Think about foreign diplomats, people going to other countries to make peace, to make things get done. And I think I do that with students and colleagues. Not a pushover. We have what we want. We have our expectations, but we compromise. We, are able to read people, able to talk to people, able to get something done. So I think diplomat is a very good label to put on me. Like I said, working in the EBD program, a lot of our kids have baggage and trauma, and if I'm just some dictator, an authoritarian coming in there, a lot of them would not respond well. So trying to work with them, transforming them, changing their attitudes and behaviors, really helped us work together. Moving on. You might recognize this background picture from a movie. It's from Billy Madison. So if you remember at the very end of the movie, there's the bad guy, Eric. He has to answer a question about what business ethics is. And he's not an ethical guy, so he doesn't really know what it means, and he gets mad, loses. And if I was up on that stage trying to answer what ethics is, I would also have a pretty hard time defining it. But thanks to this lesson and what we have learned, ethics are the principles, values, and beliefs that define what is right and wrong behavior. Thanks to Jan Van Buren for that definition. And unlike Eric, he's not an ethical person. He fudges the definition and the line between right and wrong a lot in that movie. I feel like I do have high ethics, if that's a way to say it. I know the difference between right and wrong, and I try and follow that. I think it comes from our upbringing. As a child, I was taught many times what is right, what is wrong, and they instilled with me those core values of truth and hard work and teamwork and those things which helps delineate right from wrong. And unfortunately, for a lot of my students, we come from different backgrounds. Their parents aren't teaching them the same thing that my parents taught me. So when I'm working with them, a lot of times we're at an impasse, and it's like I don't know how to speak to you in some ways. I don't know where you're coming from. So it does take that sense of compassion, transformation, diplomacy, all those things working together to try and figure out how we can do this, even though we're not coming from the same background. Yep. We get into the nature versus nurture. Sometimes I wonder what the right answer is. I think we all have some nature in us that knows a little bit of right and wrong, but if we're not nurtured in the correct way, that can become quite skewed. So that's still up for debate. Moving along here, and then we talk about Elena Aguilar's. She had this article that talked about 3 quality characteristics of a good leader: community builder, visionary, and we'll talk about the other one at the end. Community builder and visionary, I don't think I'm great at. Hopefully in the future, that can be a strong suit of mine. Goes to my lack of strategic planning. I feel like, I'm good at strategy board games, but, that's a 1-hour time frame. But I feel like I lack the skill to connect that strategic planning to, a larger vision. And I think those are key. But one thing Elena Aguilar says of the 3 traits, quoted here, she says, the ability to understand and manage your emotions and recognize, understand, and manage the emotions of others, end quote, is one of the great characteristics of a leader. And that's what she calls emotional intelligence. So as you see on the screen here in the big picture of the Grand Canyon, and that's the one that I think I do embody right now. I do a good job of that, in my opinion, of managing myself and my stress and my emotions, and also reading my students and colleagues and their emotional state. And so the reason I put this picture of the Grand Canyon, they're kind of weird, but I think when we see this picture, maybe not so much the picture, but when we stand where this little guy is standing, if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, there's an emotion that comes with it. I think it's hard not to feel some sort of emotion, although it is better in person. But similar, when we work with students and just people in general, we have to realize that we are dealing with emotions, and figuring out how to best manage those and work with them is what I do best, I guess. It's kind of why I do what I do in the emotional behavioral program. And then I think that could translate well to a building administrator, as long as I continue to work on the things that I lack. So there's the Grand Canyon. Very cool. And I think that is it. Thank you for watching. Bye.